1, 2, 3, let's go.
Wednesday afternoon, hoping you will tune into our show.
And he can only see when noise is made, so like sonar vision, like bats have. So yeah, he describes the same thing. He loses his eyesight, but then all his other senses are heightened. Now, imagine that's from somebody who has a phobia. I suppose depending on what the phobia is, could enhance maybe that phobia. So autistic children, sometimes they don't like certain noises. So I suppose if you had a blind autistic person whose hearing was super excelled and those noises would be then heightened, to be honest with you, I can't even begin to imagine what that would be like.
Endless, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
And here's where I got my theory from. There's a TV detective called Monk. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
With Monk,
yeah. Played
by Tony Shalhoub.
Yep.
Anyway, you never seen Monk? Oh, you need to see it. You need to see it, bro. Anyway, he's got this phobia of germs. He's got this phobia of germs, that he carries a wipe around, like wet wipes. And if you shake hands with him, he'll go to his assistant like that, wipes, and he'll wipe his hands because he's scared of germs. But he's really, really good at solving crimes.
Yeah.
So he's got a phobia of germs, but he's really good at solving crimes. Maybe that's a real thing. I know it's fictional, but maybe that could be a real thing where, somebody's got a fear of something.
He's extremely observant as well. There's one episode where they go to a carnival, and as they're walking in, he notices a bin full of, I think it's jelly bean boxes, and in each jelly bean box, it's approximated that there's so many, and then he sees that there's so many boxes, and then they do a prize draw where it's guess how many jelly beans are in this tub. And because he'd already seen those boxes and he was observant, he kind of calculated it all in his head. He told it's his assistant's child. Tells him the answer, and then he goes and he wins. But funny thing, and this is probably another talking point, is when you watch that, you understand he weren't always germophobic. He didn't always have those phobias. It was after his wife died when he had those phobias, which also she never ended up dying either if you watch it further on through the thing. So that's it's interesting.
Yeah. Now that brings up another question, don't it? Are phobias brought up by are there triggers for phobia? What do you think?
Absolutely. So I suppose from my side, I've never been scared of spiders up until a point when I was 17 years old. There was a little bit of an epidemic, and the Morrison's supermarket, they'd imported loads of bananas and cucumbers from wherever, and they had the false widow spiders that was nesting in there, and they were brought over. Now, my grandparents, they used to shop at Morrison's. This one particular time I was in the shower, and one had landed on my arm. I'd never even seen a spider like this before. Never, I've just seen it, and I just went to waft it off, and it bit me. And my entire arm went purple. I had to go to the hospital, and they ended up having to treat me, and it was agonising, it was awful, and it was from that moment then when I was scared of spiders.
All right.
I mean, they can be fatal, can't they? False widow spiders.
Absolutely.
Bites.
Absolutely.
They can kill you, yeah.
Yeah, it's not the most dangerous. Obviously the black widow spider is more potent than that, and then there's even more potent spiders than the black widow spider. But it just gave me a sense that something so small could end your life so easily, and I didn't realise at first. So
The leader of our gang will make the show go with a bang and fund the aim of everything Custis. And fund the aim of everything Custis.
but it just gave me a sense that something so small could end your life so easily, and I didn't realise at first. So when I was looking at my arm, I'd just seen a couple of little dots on my wrist from where, you know, it bit me, like, oh, what's that? And then half an hour had passed and all my lymphatic muscles and everything were just swollen. My arm felt like it was on fire. My arm went purple and I just had this really, really deep red line going up where my vein were. And then after an hour, it came up to my chest here. And obviously, naturally, by that point, I was, you know, on bricks and gone up to the hospital, and they had to put a drip in. They gave me some fluids, and thankfully, you know, I was okay. But it could have been worse.
Yeah, it could have been fatal, couldn't it? Oh, you're lucky. You had a lucky escape there. Now, on the lines of what you've just said, I'm thinking about my own phobias, and I'm thinking, where did I get the phobia of flying from? Where did I get the phobia of heights from? Now, I know where I got the phobia of drowning from, if that's a phobia of water. I know where I got that from, because I almost drowned as a kid, and I had to be rescued. So that might have been the reason. But the flight one, I can't explain it. I just know that I don't like flying. I don't want to be up there. I just want to be on the ground, with my feet on the ground. So that kind of explains that phobia. But just on the lines of phobia again, is there a phobia that everybody has? Is there a phobia that it just spreads across different groups, nationalities, cultures? Is there a phobia like that?
I would probably say dying. I think most people have an innate sense of survival, so dying would probably be a global phobia. And to touch back on what you said, where you're not quite sure where the fear of flying came from, and I mean, this is just completely perspective. It's just opinion based. Maybe it's just the lack of control. For me, that's what it is with like open waters, heights, etc. It's a lack of control. If something goes wrong, I don't have control over the situation. I think that's probably why I fear heights, or even enclosed spaces to a degree, because I don't have no control over the outcome if something was to go wrong.
Oh yeah. I think that answers my question. I think it's not having control, because if it's a car crash and you're alive, you know, you can just, you know, some car crashes you walk away from it, don't you? But then in a plane crash, you know, it could crash into the ocean, or it could crash and go up in flames. Then that would be a problem. But then the one about I think that would be fear of drowning as well. I was just thinking about the one about cruise ships and all that. I think that would be related to the one of drowning as well. Yeah. So just thinking about fears. Are there fears that are not phobia related? So they're just fears, like fear of being in danger. For instance, there are certain countries that I wouldn't go on holiday. I wouldn't go holidaying in. And it's not because I don't like the country. It's just because my mind tells me that the likelihood of me getting in danger would be, and I'm not talking about war-torn countries. I'm talking about countries that you would think are relatively safe. And I'm talking about countries like Colombia, Mexico, Egypt, for instance. I wouldn't go. What other country would I not go to? I wouldn't go to Algeria. Are there countries that you wouldn't go to because you're afraid of something? Australia, I would. I know a lot of people are afraid to go to Australia because of the creepies and all the insects or spiders and stuff like that. But I don't think I'm afraid of that. Are there countries that... Would you go to Australia, for instance, bro?
Well, I was going to say, you wouldn't mind going there, but you've got to get on the aeroplane for about 24 hours. So that could be a problem for you, couldn't it? But yeah, I would go to Australia, certainly. I think there definitely are countries I wouldn't go to. And as you say, we don't count the war-torn places for obvious reasons. But I agree with you about South America. In some respects, I wouldn't mind seeing a country like Brazil, Argentina, but there's often stories. There was one today about the drug cartels in Mexico and Colombia, and frankly, it's quite frightening to see what can sometimes happen. And actually, there's a very good thing on Netflix I watched about a year ago called Ozark, which was very, very good. Jason Bateman and Laura Linney were the star people in that over 2 or 3 seasons, and that was about a Mexican drug cartel and how it affected this place in America. So that's one that is worth a look. But yeah, I've been to probably most European countries. There's none there that I wouldn't want to go back to, that they're okay. I think America's great. I would like to see some of South America. I wouldn't mind seeing Chile. I actually, when I was at school, I did a thing, a kind of a thesis thing about a South American country, and I chose Chile, and it's always interested me ever since. So I wouldn't mind going there. I'd like to see Brazil, maybe some other places. A lot of people nowadays go to places like Vietnam. I wouldn't mind seeing Vietnam. It seems to be a peaceful country, and of course it was very much a feature of the Vietnam War years ago with America. So that would be a place I wouldn't mind seeing nowadays. But generally, it depends on what you like in a holiday, isn't it? Whether you like visiting places to see the culture and all the rest of it. I've never been someone who really wants to go and sit on a beach or in a hotel pool all the time, far from it. So I like to do things, see things, yeah, and places of interest would do that for me. I suppose I've seen some good places in the UK as well, which very often we don't even visit lots of places in our homeland, do we? But there are some good places to visit.
Farm?
Yeah, there are some countries that I wouldn't go see, or I wouldn't go see at certain times of year, should I say.
Right.
Japan,
Okay.
for example, it's notorious for tsunamis, so I wouldn't go there during hurricane season. For example, I'd probably like to stay as beautiful as what Thailand seems like. I just never want to get dengue fever, so I'd probably stay away from Thailand. And stuff like that. So I mean, maybe that's not a good enough reason not to go visit a country. But then, obviously, the war-torn countries for obvious reasons, and Southern America. Yeah, I've seen loads of documentaries on trafficking, drug cartels, etc. And to be fair, quite a lot of their religious beliefs down there require ritual sacrifices. I've heard a few stories of people who've gone down there visiting, and they've been found basically stuffed to the bottom of a well and used for ritual purposes. So there are a few countries. I'd probably stay out of Mexico. I don't think you could pay me enough to go to Mexico, if I'm being perfectly honest. But then there's places like America. There's places in America that I probably wouldn't want to go see. Florida, for example. I don't like the whole political values of Florida, so I probably wouldn't see myself going there. Not out of fear, just out of respect of not being disrespectful to them and being in a place where I know my opinions wouldn't be valued. So those kind of things, maybe not from lack of fear, maybe not from fear, but there are other reasons why I wouldn't go to certain countries. But Japan and Thailand would probably be, and Mexico would be the ones that I'd fear going to.
Yeah.
For those reasons.
Right. Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone. This is all we've got time for. So join us again next week for another interesting season and episodes of the talk show and podcast, The Alien Spaceship. I've been Emmy Hikins, and he calls me bruv.
I'm Trevor Gear, and I call him Cuz.
And I'm Dan Pindred, and they both call me fam.
Yeah, and it's a goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
And a goodbye from me.
Yeah, see you all next week.
Of a gang will make the show go with a bang, and fun the aim of everything custom.